Good afternoon. I want to welcome to this week's edition of the Chimney and Fireplace Success Network broadcast and podcast. And today we got a really great subject matter and a couple great guests are going to be on our show today. So Cheryl, tell folks a little bit about what we're going to talk about today on today's episode, please.
Well, we're going to talk about something that we do with a lot of our customers. It's called a SWOT, and with that, we're looking for their strengths, weaknesses, and any other oppositions that are in the company. So it gives everybody a chance to voice themselves.
Got you covered. Brandy, what will be your input to describe today's episode, which I think is going to give us a lot of great information?
Well, I admit I was not a believer in the SWOT at all until I went and did my first one with you, Jerry, and saw just how incredible it was in the information it gave us and the information it gave the business owner, and also the outlet that it gave the employees to provide that information.
Right. So today's guests we have two remarkable people, Mark and Julie Dent, Chesapeake Chimney in Prince Frederick, Maryland. And what you're going to do is we want them to share their story with you today of why the SWOT analysis process is a part of their success program for their company. So stick around. We'll be right back and we'll get started with our interview today with Mark and Julie Dent. So hang on. We'll be right back. Well, good afternoon, Mark and Julie. We're going to put y'all in. And folks, I want to apologize. We seem to be having some echo today. I want to apologize, not sure what it is. So those of us that aren't talking, we're going to kind of cut our mic off during this and hope that will take care of the issue here. Well, let me move Mark and Julie into the big window here. So, Mark, Julie, how you guys doing today?
Fine, thank you.
Doing
Good to be
great.
here.
So I'm going to start out. Julie, I'm going to direct this question to you. Why does Chesapeake Chimney do a SWOT every year?
Oh, gee, many reasons. We just had our annual SWOT meeting last week. It was our 5th year doing it. I, like Brandy, was a little hesitant. Starting it out, I'm like, we're going to put our whole company out there. We might hear things that we don't want to hear, right? It has been the most beneficial meeting that we have with our team every year. We learn so much meeting with all of them. Everybody opens up. All the team members have at least our group has no problem opening up, telling us what they think our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, and fears are. It's absolutely the best thing we do every year.
Gotcha. Mark, what about from your aspect?
Well, I'm hesitant on a lot of things, and I was extremely hesitant with that. And Julie assured me that this was a good thing. You assured me it was a good thing. And after the first couple, I thought this is a really good thing. I think we've done 5, correct?
Yes.
That's fine.
Okay, so last year on the 4th one, I started to kind of, I won't say get angry, but I get very excited about some of the things they were saying. I couldn't believe what they were actually saying. This year, it was more in shock. We have a much larger crew than we've had in the past, and it was there was a lot more concerns, and now a lot more strengths, a lot more weaknesses.
Got you covered.
And I think we have switched from what our top weakness is, and it's a different weakness now. So that was a little shocking to us this year, but we can go into that later.
Got you covered. So, Brandy, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yeah, I would ask. It has to be incredibly difficult, I would think, to sit there and listen to your employees describe the weaknesses that they see. Can you talk a little bit about that?
You go first.
So like I was saying earlier, when you've done this for a few years with your whole group, everybody starts to become more comfortable, right? And they want to open up. But as a business owner, I think we want them to do that. We want them to open up. We want to hear them. We want to make sure that they have input on what happens in this company, because that's important. That's how we retain these employees. I don't know, I can kind of describe what the top weaknesses were.
Sure.
For the past 4 years, the top weakness has been communication. And I think that's true for a lot of companies that you guys have done SWOT meetings with. Communication is always at the top of the list. This year, attitude. They were really adamant, not adamant, but very vocal that there were bad attitudes in the company. So now that's what we're trying to do, is to get things in place. That's one of the things you do at the end of a SWOT meeting. You kind of make those goals. You make a list of things that are the top weaknesses, top strengths, and you try to put things into place to, make things better.
Thank you.
I was shocked at the this year they wanted the attitude thing and with that one particularly, but some of the things that they were everybody seemed on edge because we were just about to make this move into the new building, and there was a lot of discussion about that.
So as we generate the lists, Jerry does a really good job with that. He runs that entire SWOT meeting, of which this year we did a day and a half. We have a larger group. We had 16 people. I mean, for us, that's pretty big, right? So we went ahead and did a day and a half. So the second day was more of a wrap-up day, kind of to let everyone go home the night before, think about what we discussed that day, come back refreshed, and then we could kind of wrap things up and really make our final lists of goals that we want to accomplish. It was an eye-opener this year. I think it's because we had a bigger group too. I do. I think it was a little more input that we didn't expect we were going to get. So but like I said, it's good. We have to have that. I mean, we have to have people open up to us, and I think too, as a business owner, it really makes us see who shines, right?
Yeah.
So you as a business owner, you're watching everyone as they're speaking, as they're talking, how they're communicating, how much involvement they're having, how engaged they are. So I was sitting there that day and I said, this year I'm going to really try to not be too interactive with them. I'm just going to kind of watch, and that gives you a lot of, you kind of say, okay, they'll make a good leader, or maybe they would be good in this position, not the position that they're in right now. It can go very deep. These SWOT meetings can get very deep.
So Cheryl, your turn.
So, Julie, I've been at some of yours. I've heard of one. How long do you notice before a new person is comfortable enough to start sharing when they're over the fear of you firing them?
I think in our company, it doesn't take them long at all. I think when we hire them, one of the first things we usually hear from them is, this feels like home, this feels like family. And when you feel like you're at home, when you feel like you're family, you're going to open up, right? You're going to feel comfortable talking to everyone.
To some degree.
Sometimes it's too comfortable, but a month or two after we hire them, probably they will really start to open up. We've had a couple guys that have been pretty shy, but they might not open up to everybody, but I meet with them on a daily basis. Every person in this company, I talk to them every day. So I think that puts them at ease and makes them, they're in my office every day. So they know they can, talk to me if there's something going on.
So, Cheryl, keep your mark.
Oh, and how did it, my ADD has kicked in.
Okay. Mark, I'm gonna need you to speak up a little bit, okay? And once again, I want to apologize. We're getting an echo from myself, Randy, and Cheryl. We cannot trace this down, but you guys are coming through great.
We're pretty sure that it's coming from her end and echoing back to you, and I apologize for that. The guys are really, the first hour or so of that SWOT meeting, the newest people were really, really shy. The newest girl in the office, when I hear her on the phone, I hear her in the office, she's not, I wouldn't say loud and boisterous, but she carries herself very well. When she got in that SWAT meeting, she was like a little mouse.
But she's only been here a month.
Right.
Or 2 months, yeah.
One of our newer techs, when he would get put on the spot with the first question, he was like, But after a couple hours in the meeting and they saw how everybody was, opening up and letting loose, they fell right in place. They realized that they weren't being put on the spot. They were part of the team, because it's teamwork. I mean, and that is the whole basis of the SWOT meeting, is to build your team. So, I think that they're not too shy.
Okay, so next question. Could you do this without an outside facilitator?
Absolutely not. I think it would turn into a gripe fest. I think it would turn into name calling, finger pointing. Everybody would leave with a bad feeling. And by having an outside facilitator do it, you have that neutral party. Because when the SWAT meeting's over, the facilitator's gone. Well, except Jerry, we see him every morning.
So what about from your aspect, Julie?
We would not be able to conduct this meeting without having a mediator there at all. I think after about 1 hour, we would be so frustrated, we would have to call it off. I mean, it's just, people are opening up. They're saying things. They're saying things that you might not want to hear. They might, if they're being very honest, which we want them to be, it hits a bad chord with us. I mean, that's just the psychology of people, right? But we have to absorb it, and we have to listen, and we have to show that we care. And we could not do that, Jerry, if you weren't there, moderating that whole thing. And there's a lot of activities that you did with them this time that you have not done in the past. You had, we start out listing all of the strengths, and we go around the room, and each person, tells what they think the strengths are in our company right now. And then you might, when we're finished with that, you take a little break and you do an activity with them that might involve the whole group. Or like we did, what was the brand interview, right? We had each of them do that. So that kind of gets them up out of their seat, gets them moving around. They're not getting bored. So that, I think, was a really good thing that you implemented with it this year.
Okay.
And it kind of tied into the SWOT meeting too.
Okay. So Brandy, your turn.
Were there any opportunities that they identified that you guys hadn't thought of?
Yes, quite a few. Do you want to go over some of them?
Yeah, a sofa.
They want a sofa in the new office.
I still think that's absurd.
I do have a sofa in mine.
And it would be nice to have a sofa, except that, like the door. We haven't even been here a whole week. I can't imagine what a sofa would look like after a week. I mean,
Unless it was like, plastic.
well, it
And
would
you
have
could
to,
wipe it off.
it would have to be like your grandmother's with the plastic cushion or covers on it. They came up with some things that were a little bit outlandish like that.
Yeah, some of the opportunities they came up with were really good, though. We had one tech that mentioned something about doing work down at the naval base, which is not too far from us. We don't do jobs on the naval base, but he indicated that he knows other contractors that work not Chimney, but like plumbers, electricians that work down there on the base that seem to get quite a bit of work. And that might be one area that we have not looked at yet. So we're going to kind of look into that, see what is involved in getting clearances to get onto the base to maybe do chimney work on some of those houses where well, I guess they have base housing, but they also have, whatever they call them, captains, colonels, all their houses.
And
The older barracks, right. So it's things like that come out as far as opportunities go that we will look at. Another opportunity I think that they mentioned was we talked about dryer vents. So that came out of last year's SWOT, doing complimentary dryer vent checks with all of our annual customers when we go out between April and the end of August with those annual customers. We offer the dryer, and that kind of gets the mindset into the customers that we do dryers too, right? Oh, I know. Alex had one that targeted homeowners associations, like sending out some kind of notice to the homeowners associations that we're going to be in your area this day every week, maybe every Tuesday. If you have 5 people in your association, we will discount the fee by this much, because they're all next door to each other. That's something we hadn't looked at in the past. So it's things like that come out in this SWOT meeting that give us ideas, because we can't think of everything all the time, but they might also have connections to those homeowners associations or those base people. So that was
Nice.
very beneficial. Yeah.
Okay. So Cheryl, your next question.
Okay, this thing can go 2 ways. Did you notice real camaraderie when this was over, when people had cleared the air about everything in the company while they listened to the others? Or did people buckle down and come to each other?
That's a tough one.
I couldn't quite hear everything because of the echo.
So her question, let me get this right. Her question was, did we notice camaraderie with everyone, or did it go the other way?
Oh, well, yeah, there was a lot of camaraderie, and they were ganging up on us. But there was quite a bit of camaraderie, and it seemed like, we always have that. These guys are, when we have our Christmas party, they all pose together for a picture. And we didn't tell them to do that, they just did it. If Jonathan needed to get a washer and dryer for his new house he just bought, and he put out on the group message thing something about needing some help, and everyone was offering to help. When we were making this move, I said it's going to happen over a weekend, and none of them said I can't do it. They said I can't do it Saturday, but I'll be there Sunday, or I'll be there Saturday at 2, but there was, and they seem to not mind working together and at the SWAT meeting you could see that, because the way they chum around, I guess would be the way to describe it.
Right. And at the end of the SWAT meeting, they went and started moving your furniture.
Right.
So that was the next task. So one of the things we did this year is we asked of each of them, tell us what changes they would make in the company if they owned the company. And we had them write it down on a flip chart sheet. Was that scary for you to watch that?
Yes. It was scary.
So at times when I did things, it was kind of scary to you of where it was going to go since I was facilitating the meeting.
Yeah, I think that's when the idea of the sofa came up, to tell you the truth.
So, yes, when they got up, each one had to get up and present their ideas on how they would run the company if they were the owner, right? Again, you have to be open-minded when you're listening, right? I mean, some things seem totally unreasonable that they're saying, like the sofa, but a lot of it is very reasonable stuff. Number one, I don't know why we haven't done this, but we don't do direct deposit. Every single one that got up there and talked, they want direct deposit. So what are we doing? We're doing direct deposit now. I mean,
well, putting it in place.
Putting it in place, right?
I had to explain to them the first pay period after that. I said, this is not a 5-minute conversation to get direct deposit set up. It's a process.
But what I did see happening there when they got up and started talking as if they were the owner, it was more things that are going to boost morale within the company. Okay, we used to do snacks. We used to have snacks laid out every day, fresh fruit, all that. I think we stopped that when they started loading backpacks up and taking them out. But anyway, they want to bring that back, right? So you hear stuff like that. You know, more snacks and more food, not just ice cream in the freezer. They want to have more outings where they can, you know, chum together, team building skills, which, you know, because of COVID, we haven't really been able to do a lot of those outings. We can now again. And the new guys, you know, they weren't with us prior COVID, so, you know, they want to see stuff like that. It's stuff that's going to build morale, right? And then that leads me to our top weakness, attitude. So I think if those things are addressed, attitude is going to be better, right? There we go.
Okay, so Julie, y'all were really shocked when you saw attitude came out as the number one issue.
Yeah. It's a problem, and that's why we do this, right? We want to target that. We want to target what really needs.
Another big challenge was tardiness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's still have an issue with that.
Right, but
the weekend.
Yeah, but the big thing was we saw where it was bothering a lot of the people that were on time, and it was really affecting them. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And actually now when our two serial tardiness people, this morning one of them came in and the first thing he did was apologize to everyone for being late and offer to dock for every 15. He said, you could dock me for every 15 minutes I'm late, you could dock me a half an hour, which everybody responded, you know that's illegal. But he offered it.
Yeah.
Because he knew he'd done wrong. The only thing I could have done to make that any worse for him is handed him the phone with you on the other end, Jerry.
Yeah, that was what I was going to suggest. They'd have to start calling me when they were late. And we know how they would enjoy that one.
Well, I can always put you on a Zoom meeting and have you just sit there still as can be until it was time to do the morning tidbit, and then you just start talking to them and they realize that you were sitting there live the whole time.
Well, if you noticed, on day one was late and he was on time on day two.
Yeah.
Okay, Brandy, your turn.
Well, one time ago at Blues Brothers, if you were late, you had to buy lunch for the whole company. Something like that. So what strength were you most proud of that you had changed since last year? And then also what weakness were you most proud that you had changed since last year? So, if you compare it to last year and the list that you had to work on, what were you most proud that either didn't show up on the list or was way further down on the list?
I'm completely unprepared for that answer.
So can I just pull up the list
Sure.
of the
Where is it?
weaknesses?
Where is it?
That will help us.
Where is it?
So go to your Google Share Drive.
Uh,
Open up a new Google tab.
all right. No, wrong button. Do that. Do that.
Yep.
Drag it over here.
Yep.
And I have a Google Share Drive.
Right there. Yep. And go to the drive. That's triangle.
You can tell I don't do this.
And yep. SWOT Meeting 2022. There it is. All the strengths are right there, and all the weaknesses.
Okay, you talk while I read.
All right. So the question was the strength, the top strength.
Like the strength and the weakness that showed up on the list last year that either didn't show up this year or was way much further down that you're really proud of.
Right. So I think last year our biggest strength that they talked about was the implementation of Service Titan. It was our second year using it, I think, or yeah, second year using it. That was definitely switching up to a different database and doing things paperless and on the tablets and with the customers. Customers love that. That was definitely one of our top strengths. As far as the technicians being able to be successful in the field and being more efficient in the field, right? I think this year our top strength was the willingness to go above and beyond. Is that what it was, I think? I mean, we have a set of core values, and when we do our SWOT meeting, we have those core values, our mission statement available at each area where they're sitting so that they can reference this throughout the meeting. That has been very valuable in getting them to focus on really what our company means. One of our core values is going above and beyond, so a lot of the strengths were centered around that core value.
And to be clear, what we mean by above and beyond is things like you see poison ivy in the person's bush, in their flower bed, and you identify it as poison ivy. You say to the customer, "Do you mind if I pull that poison ivy out of your flower bed for you? I've got gloves on." Mm-hmm. And the customer's like, "Oh, please." And it's poison ivy, and you just pull it out, roots and all, pull it out of the flower bed and fix the mulch, and then you throw it in a bucket and take it away with you. When you come down off the roof, you tell them, "Hey, you have 4 shingles that have flipped over." Or when was the last time you had your gutters cleaned? Because we don't offer that service, but since we were up there, we noticed it was like that, so we unplugged the downspout portion of it, but you need to get somebody to come clean the gutters. Things like that.
Go that extra step, do one more thing, and that's directly from Cheryl. Cheryl always says, "Do one more thing." It's the nice thing to do, right? And we do that here. But when I'm looking at the strengths on that list, that one word pops out at me: honesty. We heard that word honesty in the SWOT meeting, and I was showing it to Jerry. I was sitting by him. I said, "I've heard that word like 5 times already this morning in the SWOT meeting." And we do talk about that a lot in the company, in morning meetings, when they're in my office every day. Honesty goes a long way, right? We do talk about that often. Be honest. If you do something at the customer's home, be honest. I'm not going to yell at you. We want to know about it, So that I think different from last year. Honesty was a big one this year, and that's also in one of our core values. That word honesty, is in there. Yeah.
Very good.
I noticed attitude popped up in the strengths, also not in the weaknesses, but it seemed to be our key weakness, and was attitude.
So you'll see sometimes in weaknesses and strengths, sometimes they'll be listed in both areas, but they have different meanings.
Right.
Yeah. And so the other one was weaknesses. You asked about weaknesses, right?
Correct.
Sure. Yeah. I'm reading the little pop-up that came. Hi, Sean. So the weaknesses were I'll read them to you. Sensitivity. People seem to think that people get too sensitive, when somebody else is talking to them. Communication with each other, they listed that as a weakness. Communication between management and employees. Attention to detail, not utilizing training. They indicated that as a weakness, right? So that's one thing we've been working on, trying to get them more involved in the training on the CBC platform. And hearing them say that themselves and not us saying that to them kind of meant a lot, that they're going to want that. So we need to, figure out a way to make that manageable for them to have time to do training.
Self-reflection.
Self-reflection is on here, yeah. Photo documentation was another big one that came out this year that we didn't have last year as a weakness. We've had a lot of activities and discussions on proper photo documentation. We do have forms in Service Titan, and for some reason they're not following it, so we're really trying to hone in on that, but at least they realize that as a weakness themselves, right?
Rushing at the end of the day. I just want to go home.
Inflation, they listed that as a weakness.
Right, inflation, supply chain.
The supply chain. And that does affect all of us. And I'm sure other companies probably have also mentioned that in their SWOT meetings. I think that's probably an overall thing. Lack of accountability.
That was that was a big one, if you remember right, was your people brought up that you had to hold the employees more accountable.
Yes.
Right,
and that's a shocker. I mean, it's okay, and then when we do, then we go back to this one, sensitivity. So how do you?
So yeah, to counteract that, you hold them accountable in private, but then they have the perception of, did that person get held accountable when they feel like, because unless you do it in front of everybody, everybody's like, oh, I didn't do it. Which
that is another thing that came out during the SWOT. It's like, well, that person, you didn't talk to that person about that issue, but you talked to me about that issue. So we've had to explain to everyone, you don't always, you won't know if somebody's in my office and I'm talking, right? Because that's a private conversation that we have with that person. And out of respect, we're not going to let everyone in the company know that we had that talk. I mean, that's just how it is. And for a couple of them, that was kind of hard to understand. But they understand it now. Yeah. What else is on that list?
that's opportunities.
Yeah, so strengths
Time management
or weaknesses, I'm sorry.
was pretty hot.
Weaknesses.
That one's always on.
Drama was a big
Drama,
one.
yeah.
Drama.
That was a weakness.
Quite a few mentioned that
Workplace
on their
drama.
list. Yeah. And we have had that discussion before in other sessions, so it still is an issue, right? And maybe it will always be an issue. Maybe it's something that we constantly have to stay on top of.
Right. The one that struck home, the weakness that struck home to me, for me, and it was, they put down Mark letting go. And they're talking about letting go of the field work. I just love doing it. I don't like being all clean like this every day.
Well, Cheryl, let's go to you next. We've got about, would you say about 35 weaknesses they brought out, Julie?
Oh, easy. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
More than that, but yeah.
About that.
Yeah. So Cheryl, what's your next question?
Okay, as we all know, threats are nothing you can control. Did you see a lot of fear from them this year that was not there last year because of all that's going on that they have no control over?
Internet sales and price differences was the biggest one. Internet sales. YouTube tutorials. I mean, Bobby down the road, he's making a lot of videos, and his are the easiest to find. Another big giant threat that they brought out was the supply chain problems that we're all having, cost of living going up. I mean, these are all things that are all over the news, and everybody's feeling the pain. I know in California, it's what, $6.50 a gallon for gas. Quality of prospective employees, that was a big threat. Not quality of the people we're hiring, but the quality of the people who are applying. Social norms. That was an odd one for me as a threat. Social norms, what's acceptable and what's not acceptable.
The war was another one. They talked a lot about the war,
The threat of the war.
Russian, Ukraine. Yeah.
Because that was, we were having our SWOT meeting the day they invaded.
And it still is a big one. I think that causes a lot of anxiety in a lot of people, and I mean, that's just how it is. I told Jerry when that was brought up during the SWOT meeting, I said, didn't expect to see that on a SWOT meeting list. Ever, really? I mean, but here we are. Yeah. Google was another threat that they listed.
Right. I don't know if Jerry has shared the video or we shared with him yesterday about if people eating in restaurants treated the restaurants the way they treat contractors. I don't know
The
if
service
that's
type
been
video.
The service type video, which is hilarious. But it's so true. And if anybody who's not even in the service industry, I don't know if you guys can hear me. There's a big door going down behind me. Anybody who's even not in the service industry, if they watch that video,
Yeah, you got time to stop, man. It's bad.
that is really loud, isn't it?
Tell Barbara we've heard about every word she said too.
Okay. I'm not telling her.
I'm sorry.
She won't be able to handle it.
I said Barbara, we need most of what Barbara's saying in there too.
What?
He said he can hear about every other word Barbara says too.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
That's it's the
Our
reason
offices are not really set up all the way yet.
I don't have a door yet. So I'm sitting here with the door in front of me. I'm wide open into the main office because I have no door. I have the open door policy right now.
That's it. So where were we, Mark, when Julie jumped out?
We were talking about threats.
Okay.
Which threat was I on?
We were talking about the war. We were talking about the insurance. One of the threats was insurance costs are going up. So, everything. Our fleet insurance is going up. Workman's comp is going up. Liability insurance is going up. And believe it or not, everybody in the company, knows this. They must be aware of it. They must feel it.
Right, the economy. I think most of it was centered, with the biggest threats centered around the economy.
Yeah.
The current climate that's going on, and people are afraid.
Last year it was COVID. It was more COVID. This year it's more COVID and employment, right?
Right.
This year it's more economics.
Last year and the year before it was COVID as a threat, and then that was the year before, and then last year COVID as an opportunity.
Yeah.
This year it's the repercussions of COVID as a threat. So
economic threat, yeah.
keeps going back and forth.
Yeah.
So
So
it does,
Cheryl,
it
does
does
that answer your question?
question.
Okay. So Julie, Mark, Y'all came up with solutions there. Can we go over the solutions y'all came up at the bottom of your list? Because I'm looking at the same list.
Mm-hmm.
Saturday work. I don't know if that's really a solution or not. It says it on here.
So I can kind of explain why they put Saturday work on there under solutions. So they don't like to work Saturdays, and usually in the summer, spring, we do not schedule Saturday work. Now, it is known through the company with everyone that when we get into the busy season, we are going to have Saturday work. They want to have a solution of knowing when they're going to have Saturday work. So sometimes the schedule changes, and it is unavoidable. They want more consistency on knowing when they're going to have to work on a Saturday.
That's right. That was from the repair guys, because they would say we don't find out that there's Saturday work until Thursday.
Yeah.
And I'm telling us because it rained on Thursday.
Yeah. But that's something we're going to work on. I mean, we have to work on a solution, right? We have to.
Well, one of the things is it gave us a chance to discuss what their frustrations are, and then offer why we're happy to do it.
Mm-hmm.
We came up with a number of solutions for the tardiness, most of which were not legal. Once we checked into them, flogging, that's against the law. Although I would enjoy they had continuing education was a solution, which we already have that solution, and we pointed out to them where that is and how easy it is to get it.
I'm seeing a big one on that list. That's really popping out at me.
The attitudes, the solution to attitudes was adaptability. And it said, how do we fix it? And it said, always have a yes attitude. Never let negative things affect you for more than 5 minutes. So when you feel like you're being threatened by a bad attitude, you just don't let it affect you for more than 5 minutes. You get over it.
Focus on something else for those 5 minutes, and then come back to, and then rethink it, right?
In actuality,
They came up with that solution, not us.
right. When we started having it, I started going into a training mode. And some of the things that they talked about attitudes, that's where we started doing some training on how to have a better yes attitude.
Right, not just yes, I'm going to do it. Yes, I'm going to have a good day, regardless of whatever was happening.
Yeah, so Jerry, that's another beneficial thing about having a mediator there, like you being there with us. You were able to pull up on your computer some things that could help right in that moment, right in the heat of that moment. We knew we were dealing with an attitude, the attitude. So you brought that up, and you did a little bit of training, to help that.
Which helped them come up with the solutions.
Right.
Good. Okay, so Brandy, what's your next question? This will be your last one, Brandy. Go ahead.
Well, then I have to do a question and a comment. I'll do the question first. So for people watching that are thinking, gosh, this may cost a fortune. You're missing a day's work for all these technicians, paying them, possibly providing lunch, different things. How would you justify that to somebody watching that may be interested in doing it but is afraid?
So, if you buy 5 camera systems for your company, you're going to spend about $25,000. And you look at, wow, that's a lot of money. I don't know if I could spend that. That's a week's work or a month's work, depending on the business, or a day's work. It doesn't matter. I mean, but that's a whole. It's a lot of money either way you look at it. You look at what's the benefit going to be, and I've made the comment before. I hate spending money, but if the price is right and it's going to turn around the right way, the return on investment's right, I'm throwing my credit card down. I mean, it's flying. I'm writing checks. I'm ready to let go of it when I see the benefit. And like Julie said earlier, the first one we were a little apprehensive about it, and I'm like, oh my God, we're gonna be down for a whole day. We gotta buy for lunch. We gotta pay for that guy's hotel room. We gotta buy and we gotta rent this room. And God, y'all, what are you buying all those pencils and Sharpies and yellow pads that stick on the wall? That stuff's just gonna get thrown away. And then after about 3 weeks later, I was like, okay, we did a good thing. But at first I was penny pinching it.
You answered that perfectly. And then my comment is, I am pro couch.
Actually, I told them there that you had a couch.
We have a couple.
Do you have them like in the area where the techs sit?
Yeah, they kind of fight over it in the morning on who's going to get to sit there. And then it's like really more of a love seat for two people, but three of them squeeze in on it.
Yeah, they have a napping room at Blues Brothers.
Don't tell our techs that.
Julie, they have a nap room.
They have a
Okay.
nap room.
Okay. So, Cheryl, your turn. Last question.
Would you ever think about not doing this?
No.
Not anymore.
In fact, I talked with Jerry after our last SWOT meeting last week, and I said, I think it would be good to have like a mid-year SWOT to kind of review, like 6 months later, or maybe before the busy season starts. Why can't we do like a mid-year SWOT just to see where we've come? Has anything changed? But I have to get that through, we have to. I think it would be a good thing. I do, too. Maybe even if it's only for half a day.
Okay. So,
Virtual.
I'm going to turn the mic to you and Mark a minute, Julie. Give us your kind of feelings about, you've done this part way, but is this something that you guys do recommend, that you're willing to invest into and see the benefit of?
Well, I think I already answered that one. But yes, I would definitely, I would not stop doing this. I think it's a great thing. And as much as I hate parting with money, I think it's a worthwhile investment. I really do.
Yeah.
The guys actually have started looking forward to it every year. They started. And Joseph was asking me in December, so when are we having a SWOT meeting? And I think he just enjoys sitting at a table all day and getting fed, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
But
He has input.
but he has a lot of good input.
He has a lot of good input, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Well, if you've been listening to us, again, I want to apologize for this echo. We haven't figured out how to fix it. Hopefully, by the time we do the next episode, we will. I hate it's happened on you and Mark and Julie today, but we appreciate you joining us. And I'm not going to go into a long outgo today, and because I'm echoing too bad. So we'll see you next week on the next episode. How's that go for you today?